Alright, hey everybody. This quick little video here is just gonna just be going over what my expectations are on this review sheet. So hopefully it helps. Okay, first of all, this one here, no real work required here, but we want you to gain an understanding. First of all, a quotient is the answer to a division problem. Okay, now what I want you guys to see is, as you guys are well aware, that is the dividend and that is the divisor. Okay, whenever the dividend is larger, okay, when the dividend is larger, the answer will always be greater than 1, because what this question is truly saying right here is how many groups of 2 can go in 3? Well, 2 is less than 3, so I know that this has to be greater than 1, because I know there has to be at least one group of 2 will be in 3. Right? So this one would be greater than 1. Okay. Whereas this one over here, we're saying how many groups of 3 will be in 2. Well, there isn't even going to be a whole group of 3 that'll go into 2. So this one would give you the answer less than 1. Okay. So use that understanding as you go through the rest of this. If the dividend is larger, it's always going to be an answer greater than 1. Okay. All right, next one. Okay, this one, obviously, you guys at this point should know exactly what expectations I have here. First, I would need you to write PEMDAS, of course. Okay, and then do parentheses first. Now, I want you to remember, these are absolute value bars. So I always want you to do that first, okay? Or not first, but in this case, since these parentheses, these absolute value bars come to the left, they come first before those parentheses. So we would do that first. So the first line would look like this. The absolute value of 10, the distance that 10 is from 0 is 10. So then here we go. Just like that. And then that would be your first step. Okay, just keep that in mind. So that should be your first step, because those are just a different type of parentheses, but you would do those first. And then you would go on to do these parentheses and then so on from there. Okay, this one's got a lot of steps in it, so please do on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, this one here, obviously you'd need to write PEMDAS and then show one step and rewrite on all of them. Okay. These simplify the following fractions. Now, I do want you to show your work. So let me show you what I expect from that. I expect you to show what you're dividing by. So I see 2 and 8. I know that they have a common factor of 2. So I want to see that step right there. So I'm giving you the answer for this question, for this part of it anyway. I always need to see what your number is, or what you are dividing by, or what factor they share. Okay, so I always got to see that step, and then of course that's your answer right there. Okay, these here, no work required. Go back to your chapter 3. Well, maybe, you know what, I might not have done this video, but if you go back to your notes, you would find the 5th grade review section, 5th grade review in your notes. You will find how to do this. I'll remind you, it is just going around the barn as I taught you. 8 times 1 is 8, and then you add on your 5 pieces. That would give you 13/8. Okay? All right. These here, I do need to see work. If you don't show me work, they will be wrong on Monday when we grade these. Okay? So, the work here that I would require is showing the division problem. The reason I make you show it is because I want you to understand that all fractions are division problems. So 5 goes into 8 one whole time. We subtract, we get a R3, remember that from elementary school? R3, that becomes your pieces, and then your denominator stays exactly the same. So 1 3/5 on that. Okay, so I definitely need to see work on that one. This one here, what is the ratio of, this is involving ratios. You'll remember from going over the review sheet, last review sheet number 8, I created something called edge pieces. You don't have to do this, but it might help you. And those edge pieces are just the information that's given with that ratio right there. So I know there are 12 boys in a class. I know there are 26 total students in the class. And then there's one other piece of information, and it's the amount of girls in that class, because there's only boys and girls in there, obviously. So once you get those edge pieces figured out, then these questions are pretty easy. Okay? All right, next one. Okay, here we are doing reflections. This is from chapter 2. I don't remember the specific learning target, but it was near the end, maybe learning target 7, something like that, 6, 7, something along those lines. But it talks about how to plot. It talks about the quadrants. It talks about reflecting over the x and the y. This is your x, this is your y. So doing reflections, all that is in Chapter 2 notes, so you can go back and take a look at that. Finding the sum or difference, I absolutely need work here. 100% need work. And that work would be finding a common denominator. Okay, all these will. Okay, so you'd have to figure out, okay, what common denominator. Remember, that's called the LCD, or sometimes I'll call it the QCD. The LCD just means the least common denominator, which means the least common multiple of 5 and 3, 7 and 21, 8 and 2, 15 and 3. The QCD is just when you simply multiply 5 and 3 to get a common denominator. Remember, this is called quick common denominator. 7 and 21, you could multiply them together and get a common denominator. That's not always the best. This is the best, but sometimes this works too. Or it always works. Both of them always work, but you must have work on that one. And finally, number 9 and 10, okay, absolutely need work here. Okay, we have algorithms here. So you guys should all know your algorithm. If you don't, we're going to, I know you guys do at this point, but it is Chapter 3, learning target number 1. So go back and take a look at that if you need help with that at all. There is some work that is required here. Okay, here we go. This is all Chapter 2 here. Again, I don't remember the exact learning target. I want to say 4, something like that. 4 or 5, somewhere around in there. But just remember, when you're doing this, if you're on the same side, you subtract. If you go across 0, you add the absolute values. Okay, to continue on here. All right, this first one, I absolutely need work. The same work that I've been requiring anytime an algebraic expression is involved. Okay, that's an algebraic expression saying $6 times the number of books plus $12 times the number of videos. And if you want to find total cost, that's how you're going to do it. So you guys should all know what my work is that I require. I should see PEMDAS. This is just like the kayak question from last week. It's just like the what's the other, the newspaper route question. You need to write PEMDAS. You're going to turn that algebraic into a numeric using this information and find your answer step by step using PEMDAS, just like we talked about. Okay, that one, no work really required there. It's just talking about mode, understanding what mode is. If you don't know, you can look that up or look back to a past review sheet. It was on there. Next page. Okay. This one here, this we haven't really covered yet because this is really this is going to be learning target number 2 for most of you. Some of you it'll be learning target number 5. So it just depends on what group you're in this time, but those are the 2 learning targets. Regardless, I can show division problems involving mixed numbers, fractions, and whole numbers in real world situations. So you're going to need to understand what you're dividing, and then obviously you would definitely need to show your work here to know. You'll know what I mean. You should know what I mean by that. Okay. Here, no work really required here except the fact that you don't need this, but remember, I keep talking about these edge pieces. You may as well start trying to think about it now. If I told you the number of chairs to table at a wedding was 10 to 2, then that means 10 chairs. It means 2 tables. And there's one other piece of information, and it's how many total chairs and tables are in there. Those are your edge pieces. And then that makes it pretty easy, I think. So you'll see. So just think about that one. Okay. This one, if you're struggling plotting, look back to your Chapter 2 notes, and then you're just trying to find the distance between the 2. Okay, so that one's really just kind of well, you'll see. You'll figure out how to do that one, I think. Last one here. You absolutely need to show your work here. Okay? That's a division problem, so I would need to see the division. Now, just so everybody is aware. Now, you're going to cover this, but since we haven't yet, I'll put it on here. You cannot do long division with a decimal divisor. You can't do it. It's impossible. you can't have a decimal in your divisor. So what we have to do is we have to move that decimal to make that 35. Okay, so I just multiplied by 10. But here's the key part. If you do it to your divisor, you must do the exact same thing to your dividend. Okay, so actually you're going to be doing 753 and 9/10 divided by 35. And then remember, your decimal goes straight up. Okay, and then nothing's different, but we'll get to this of why this is. You can't have a decimal in your divisor. Okay, alrighty. This one, we did one of these on review sheet number 7, I believe. It involved Mountain Dew, and you had to figure out how much or what the rate per pack was, or what the cost was of one Mountain Dew. So in this case, you want to figure out what the rate is per pack. So per 1 pack, I want to know how much it's going to cost. You do have to show your work on that one as well. Okay. And finally, plotting points, once again, chapter 2. And then you can figure out that's going to make a shape, and I don't think you're going to have any issues there. So that's that. Okay? All right.